My girlfriend 24F bailed on me the night before our flight the next morning, so I 26M went on vacation anyways. She convinces me to then fly to our original destination, love bombs me, then dumps me for my misogynistic ways once we get home. How do I handle this? TLDR long post, but would greatly appreciate anyone willing to read and give advice. My ex bailed on our vacation the night before. I went anyways and changed my flight. She retracted and asked me to come anyways, then love bombed the fuck out of me just to dump me after we got home. Then, she lied about what time she put my stuff outside her door and it got stolen. We had an incredibly loving and intimate relationship from day one. I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I'd always do anything and everything to show her the extent of which I care for her, and do things that I thought would make her feel secure and taken care of. I might add that she was laid off several months ago, and I have happily and willingly paid for anything and everything that we have done she has wanted or needed. I'd take her out as often as we could, several times a week to nice restaurants and bar hop around town during the weekends. She had the idea of a last-minute weekend trip and within the hour I had the hotel booked. As soon as she mentioned needing to fix her shower head, I bought a brand new one and replaced it entirely. When she was having her time of the month I went out and bought bath salts, her favorite snacks, candles, and wrote a sweet note, put it all in a basket and left it outside of her place. I didn't knock on the door, or even make my presence known. I simply left it and texted her, check outside your door when you have a chance, and I hope you feel better. Added context to make known the fact that I wasn't trying to be overbearingly present all the time, I just wanted to do anything within my power to make her feel taken care of and loved. Last month, she told me she wanted to go see her family for the 4th of July, and she wanted me to come too. I loved the idea, and booked the flights later that week. Keep in mind, we had to fly to Chicago and then get on a smaller plane and go into Michigan, so airline tickets were pricey for both of us, but her mom offered to pay for both her and my smaller plane ticket. The weekend before we were set to leave, we had a minor falling out. We were still talking casually throughout the day, but I could tell things were tense. She Snapchatted me a selfie that night of her and her friend out at a bar, and I replied asking her whether or not I should cancel my trip to meet her family. She replied with another picture and said no need to cancel any flights, we'll be fine by then, and I felt the need to screenshot that, which looking back was a good idea. This was Friday-Saturday and our flights were scheduled for that upcoming Tuesday morning at 6:30 a.m. I decided to give her some space and I refrained from reaching out to her until she was the one to initiate conversation. I had the assurance of her wanting us both to still go on this trip, and I wanted to give her a little breathing room. I told myself that I'll have my bags packed, and go over to her house Monday evening to see where we stand, thinking we'll be fine like she said. I show up Monday evening and knock on her door. She opens it and I can visibly see the distasteful "Oh God, what are you doing here" written all over her face. I tell her that I've wanted to give her some breathing room, but that she told me to not cancel flights, so I thought that meant that we were both still going, and that I thought we could talk about anything that needed to be talked about tonight. That's also when I showed her the screenshot, and she admitted to not even remembering sending me that. That stung pretty badly. She told me that she in fact doesn't think she wants me to meet her family, and that the trip shouldn't be happening with the both of us. I tell her that I went to extensive lengths to coordinate this trip. I'm an architect, and had to arrange our deadlines with consulting engineers for multiple projects according to when I'd be back. Our flights were non-refundable, and our plane takes off in less than 12 hours from when we were actively having this conversation in which she was telling me that I'm uninvited. I decide to leave, and accept the defeat. I called my mom when I got in my car and was headed back to my place, and I told her that the worst case scenario she's known that I've been giving her some space over the weekend ended up happening. I was heartbroken, and I told my mom that there's no way in hell that I'll cancel her flight, and be the reason that another mother won't see her daughter on a weekend that her entire family will be looking forward to her visit. She typically only sees them 2-3 times a year. During the call with my mom, I was met with the epiphany of still going on this flight, but instead I'll wing it in Chicago for the week. I didn't care about where I'd stay or what flight I might get on to come back home, but I'm not going to let her think that I'm home upset or that she can ruin my entire vacation plans. So, I show up at the airport and the first thing I do is ask the desk person if I could please change my ticket to the next flight after the one that she's going to be on. They kindly oblige. I land in Chicago, and say fuck it. I get on the train into the city, and find a badass Airbnb smack in the middle of downtown. I check in, clean up, and spend my entire day hopping from cocktail bar to coffee shop. Exploring, meeting new people, and getting my mind out of the gutter. Lo and behold, I get 2 messages from her around 5 p.m. She saw my Instagram story of downtown Chicago and my views from upscale high-rise bars. She said, "How's Chicago?" I didn't even realize you were on the flight and I chose to not respond, but it did make me wish that none of this falling out had happened. After all, I care about this woman immensely, and it sucked to think that she could do this to me on such short notice. The day goes on, and I try my hardest to refrain from sinking into a bad headspace. Around 9 p.m., she texts me again and says would you be open to coming to his city her family are in, so I think on it for a while and decide that this could possibly sweep everything under the rug for us, and we could go from there. Everybody makes mistakes, and it was clear that she had a lapse in judgment but wanted me there. So I booked the next flight, the next day, and make all arrangements necessary in order for us to enjoy this trip as we originally planned. The next day, I land and she picks me up. We both shrug it off and she is absolutely ecstatic to see me. We end up having an amazing time with her family, and we are both on cloud 9. Loving, caring, can't get enough of each other. Every single thing was perfect. She showed me kindness that I hadn't seen from her before. I overheard her talking to her mother and aunt about me, and she even said I have never felt more safe and protected in my life. So many other endearing things that just made me want to melt. Her family vocalized their adoration for how I treat their daughter, and made it known that they can't wait to see me again and are so happy that her and I found each other. The day we were supposed to fly back, our flight into Chicago was delayed, so we decided to get an Airbnb and go out in the city for the evening. We had a romantic dinner, walked to a bar for drinks after, and were very intimate at our hotel that night. I should also add that we are regularly intimate, can't get enough of each other, and she often initiates. Usually 2x a day. We fly home the next day and still, everything is perfect. We both go our separate ways to our own places, and had planned to meet back up at our favorite restaurant that evening. We have a wonderful dinner and go out for drinks after, and she is just as loving towards me as she has been ever since our trip. We decide to get a slice of pizza on our way home, from a local shop. I grab the box once they call my name, and I politely asked for the side of dipping sauce that we ordered as well. One guy goes and grabs it, and I stood there waiting. Then, the young lady cashier waved her hand in my face as if she was shooing a fly away from her food, or as if I was a dog, and said, "Can you move?" I was obviously taken aback, as I turned around and realized that by no means was I actively in someone's way, or inhibiting any flow of traffic. I turned back to her and simply said, please? Thank you? Sure, I'll move, as I was implying the fact that she could have definitely addressed a paying customer with some manners. Then, my own girlfriend steps in front of me and says to the cashier, "I'm sorry, he can be a fucking dick," and that's when I decide to simply say no. I just hope to be addressed with any type of manners, as I'm the paying customer and I won't be shooed away like some dog without saying that she could have asked me nicely instead, and I decided to walk out. We both got in the Uber, and once we were at her house, she tears into me saying that I absolutely publicly humiliated her and she can't believe I'd talk to a service worker that way. I apologized for making her feel that way, and admitted that I could have said it better, just like she could have addressed me better too. We fall asleep, and the next morning I try to give her a hug as she's turned away from me. She shoulders me off and I ask her if we can please not let this ruin how amazingly things have been for the past week, and all she says is, "I don't want to talk to you right now, I'm just trying to get over it." So I kiss her shoulder, gather my things, and leave. We barely talk over the next 3 days, and yesterday I ask if she'd like to meet for dinner. She agrees, and so I'm eager to think that we're moving past this. I meet her for dinner, and I can visibly see that she's still very bothered. We finish one cocktail and I ask what the deal is, and of course she brings it up again. I ask for the check and have the valet bring her car around. We both get in and she reinstates the fact that she just can't get over my misogynistic ways, and that it made her feel like I hate women. She breaks up with me, and I get out of the car and let her know that I'll be bringing her stuff by in 30 minutes to drop it off, and I ask her to please set my stuff outside her door. When I text her that I'm 5 minutes away, she agrees. I go and gather her things, and text her once I was 5 minutes away. I get there and don't see any belongings of mine, so I set her stuff down and start to walk back to the elevator and text her, "I guess I'll come back for my stuff at another time? Your things are outside of your door." She says, "No, I set your stuff outside my door," and I say, "Well, it sure isn't there anymore." I hear her door open and she walks out, then proceeds to tell me she put it right there, and she starts to check her Ring camera while I stood there almost in annoyed disbelief. She tells me that the video shows multiple people pass by but never saw anyone grab my stuff, so I simply say, "Just don't worry about it, it is what it is," and I walk off. She tells me to have a good night and to please drive safe, and I never even broke stride or turned around to acknowledge. She then texts me and says, "I'm sorry about your stuff. I put it out at 9:24 and the only thing the camera shows people walking by, but it starts recording late. I'll talk to the leasing office tomorrow and see if they have any info. Here's the kicker: I texted her that I was 5 minutes away and then once again asking if she'll press her fob so the garage will open, at 9:49. So that means she put my shit outside the door 25 minutes before I ever even texted her that I had left my house and was headed to hers. Knowing I wasn't almost there yet, and without any care in the world that she lives in an apartment, and anybody can walk by and take it. This was all last night. I never responded to her last night, and I haven't heard from her today. Do I do anything at all? I obviously plan on easing into the reality of the way she treated me, while coming to the realization that she just isn't the person I thought she was. Which hurts, but I know I'll be okay. If I had a choice, I'd tell her that disagreements happen, but that she means so much to me that I honestly want to fix things instead of calling it quits. But I know I deserve to be treated better, when I'm the one going out of my way every day to try and make her life easier and treat her well while she isn't reciprocating any effort whatsoever. I don't know why, but she brought the most selfless side out of me. Her well-being and happiness quickly became a priority to me, and I know I shouldn't have let that happen. What do I do now? Or do I do absolutely nothing at all? I can live without my belongings that she made the poor decision of allowing to be stolen, so do I block her and move on? Thank you, whoever stuck around to read this. It means a lot, and I'd appreciate any advice for me to move forward.